You know, I have a lot of people that have come to me over the years and they've got classic thyroid type symptoms, right? They've got thinning hair, they've got dry skin, they've got brain fog, anxiety, depression, can't sleep. They've got gut problems. Big one is always going to be low energy. They can't lose weight. That's another big one. And then they're frustrated because they've been to their doctor. Half of the time, the doctor will tell them they don't have a thyroid problem, which I'll explain in a second. And then the other half of the time, they're identified as maybe having a hypothyroid condition, and the doctor will put them on medication, but 90% or so don't feel any better, or they do feel better for a little bit of time, and then it kind of wanes over time, and they're back to where they were. Well, what's the frustration with that is that the doctors are going off of what's called a TSH test, right? If your TSH is high, that means you are hypothyroid. If your TSH is low, that means you're hyperthyroid. And their whole goal is to manage that TSH number. If you're the type of person who hasn't gotten sick enough yet, if your TSH is still in the normal range, that means you have the hormones in your blood, and your pituitary, which sends out this thing called TSH, is not sending out too much of it. So your TSH is looking good because it's sensing that the hormones in your blood are good, but you don't feel good. That's half of the thyroid population, by the way, who have a thyroid condition. Not a deficiency of thyroid hormones, the inability to get those hormones into the cell of the body. That's where they do their job. T3 in particular goes into the cell and it will communicate. Active T3 is your thyroid hormone. T3 is your active thyroid hormone. It will go into your cell and it'll communicate with your DNA. It'll communicate with your mitochondria, which are your energy factories, and it helps you make energy. And so if you don't get T3 in, would it make sense why somebody would have low energy? But the doctor is not looking at that. He's only looking as to whether or not the hormones are in the blood, essentially. And if they're in the blood, that person's considered good to go, but they don't feel good to go. Like I said, half of them are told they don't have a thyroid problem, even though they have all the symptoms, or many of them, that I just listed for you in the beginning. Then the other half of the people, they're put on Synthroid, right? Or they're put on levothyroxine or some sort of thyroid medication. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for medication. I'm just saying that why are so many of the people who are put on medication, why don't they feel better? Why do they still have low energy? Why do they still have brain fog? Why can't they still lose weight? Well, again, it goes back to not whether or not you have the hormones there, whether it's the one you're taking or the ones your body's already making, or a combination of the two. It has to do most of the time with the inability to get those hormones into your cells of your body. Your cells are your building blocks. Right? They're our foundation. All life and health begins at the cell level. If you have a symptom, I promise you, there is something gone wrong at the cell level, because that's where all function comes from. If you have a symptom or dysfunction, even a full-blown disease, it's always traceable back to something gone wrong at the cell level. But every doctor is taught this, but almost no doctors are explaining this to their patient. They're not dealing with it in that patient's life. They're basically either trying to cover up symptoms or manage numbers on a piece of paper, like the TSH test. And I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that. I'm just saying to you that it's a source of major frustration for so many people, because the doctor is not addressing the real root cause of what's going on. He's not really even understanding it. And that's even more frustrating, because you can't talk to them about it. They don't get it. Okay, so beyond that, there's other issues involved. Like most of the time, if you're given a medication, it's T4, right? It's levothyroxine, it's Synthroid. T4 is not the active hormone. What did I say that it was? It's T3. In your body, T4, which is considered to be a storage hormone, that has to be converted to T3. T4 has to convert to T3. Well, that takes place primarily in your liver. Well, what happens if you have a toxic liver? What happens if, because we are Americans and we are encountering toxins from the time we get up to the time we go to bed every day of our life, and our liver is our major detoxifying organ, if it can't keep up, is it potentially going to impact your ability to convert T4 to T3? It very well might. So you get my point. There's other issues involved here. The bottom line with us is, because the cells make us who we are, you have to fix the cell for the person to get well. That's the key. That's what's being missed. That's what the doctors are just not focusing on. And that's why so many people are so frustrated. If you want to learn more about this, I would encourage you, please go to coleclass.com. Coleclass.com. We talk more about this. I know you'll find it interesting, especially because it's going to show you why people are getting sick and how they have to get better. God bless.